The ocean is quieter at night, not silent, just softened, like it's speaking in a lower voice so no one feels rushed. Along the Atlantic shoreline, moonlight lays a pale ribbon across the water, and the tide arrives with the patience of something that has done this 1,000 lifetimes and still isn't bored. A thin fog drifts in and out, unbothered by schedules, moving the way a sigh moves through a room. Somewhere beyond the dunes, beach grass bends and lifts again, bending and lifting, practicing the slow, steady rhythm of rest. Even the waves seem to be taking their time, rolling in like they've decided to stop trying to impress anyone. And the wind, well, the wind is doing what wind does best, wandering around, looking busy, while technically being invisible. Honestly, it's a pretty relatable job. In the distance, you might hear a few soft calls, brief, airy notes that float and fade. They belong to seagulls, resting on dark rocks or tucked along sheltered sandbars. At night, they aren't the bold, bustling characters you see in daylight. They become quieter, more thoughtful shapes against the sea. Their feathers catch the moonlight like brushed silver. Their bodies settle. Their world narrows to warmth, balance, and the gentle promise that morning will return when it's ready. Welcome to sleepy nature sleep, where the wild grows soft and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts follow the rhythm of the earth, your breathing settle like evening wind, and your mind wander gently through the quiet wild. If this place feels peaceful, you're always welcome back, like a small, quiet campfire that's already lit, waiting in the dark with a warm spot nearby. No need to say much, no need to do anything, just arrive and let the night take care of the rest. And if you'd like to support the channel, it helps us keep the nightlights low and the nature facts cozy, so these stories can stay gentle, steady, and here whenever you need them. Tonight, we'll drift into the Atlantic seagull migration season, an unhurried journey shaped by wind, tide, and instinct. We'll follow the soft wingbeats as they move along the coast, pausing on quiet piers, slipping over moonlit bays, and navigating the shoreline like experienced travelers who know that the best routes are often the calmest ones. There will be simple science, slow scenery, and small moments of gentle humor, because nature, even in its quietest moods, still has a way of being quietly charming. So let your shoulders loosen, let your jaw unclench, let the ocean do the counting for you. One wave, then another, while we begin our story where the sea meets the night and the migration begins in a whisper. A single, coastal-rooted question to carry gently through the episode. What does a seagull follow when it leaves a familiar shore? Tonight, before we travel anywhere at all, let's pause in the way the coast invites us to pause, without urgency, without expectation. The Atlantic is wide, but it never demands that we understand it all at once. It simply offers small truths. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, and the shoreline keeps its quiet promises. And somewhere within those promises, the seagulls begin to shift, subtly at first, like a thought you don't realize you're thinking until it's already there. Migration can sound dramatic if we say it too loudly, but in real life, it often begins as a soft decision. A few more birds facing a new direction in the morning, a few more quiet departures from a familiar pier, a few more wings tracing the same route along the surf line, as if rehearsing. It is less grand adventure and more seasonal knowing, like pulling a blanket a little higher when the air changes. So here's tonight's question, small enough to fit in your pocket and gentle enough to carry without effort. When a seagull leaves one shore for another, what is it really following? Not a cosmic riddle, nothing that needs solving, just a calm wondering, the way you might wonder why certain songs feel comforting, or why some places feel like home, even when you've never been there before. Is it following temperature, an invisible map drawn in degrees and breezes? Is it following food, tiny silver fish that appear and disappear like glittering punctuation marks in the sea? Is it following light, day length shifting by minutes, quietly changing the world's timing? Or is it following something older than all of that? A sense of direction that lives inside the body, steady as a heartbeat. And maybe, just maybe, it's following the company of others. Because even a bird that looks confident in the sky sometimes prefers not to do everything alone. The flock becomes a moving conversation, a shared decision, a group chat made of wingbeats and spacing. No emojis, but plenty of opinions. If you listen closely to the coast at night, you can almost hear the question settling into the dunes. It's in the hush between waves. It's in the brief calls from the resting birds. It's in the way the wind seems to nudge the world toward tomorrow. You don't have to answer the question. You can simply let it rest beside you, the way a smooth shell rests in your palm, cool, simple, and real. And as we move deeper into the migration season, we'll return to it now and then, not to force meaning, but to notice patterns, to feel the slow logic of nature's choices. For now, just hold that gentle curiosity. What does a seagull follow when it leaves a familiar shore? And let your breathing follow something too. Slowly in, slowly out, like the tide, which never hurries and never forgets its way back. We set the Atlantic coast stage, weather, tides, light, and the slow rules that guide seagulls as migration begins. The Atlantic coastline at the edge of migration season has a particular mood. The air carries a cooler edge, not sharp, just clear, like the sky has rinsed itself clean. The days may still be bright, but the evenings arrive earlier, sliding in with a softness that feels practiced. Along the shore, the tide is the metronome. It pulls water back from the sand, then returns it again, reshaping the beach the way sleep reshapes a busy mind, quietly, without asking permission. Listen to the soundscape here. There is the steady hush of waves, the faint rattle of pebbles, the whisper of beach grass, and if you're close enough, tiny noises of life tucked into the margins. A crab clicking in its burrow, a sandpiper's quick steps, a distant buoy bell. At night, the world simplifies. The sea becomes a dark, moving fabric. The dunes become low silhouettes, and the birds, so lively in daylight, become calmer presences, resting, watching, waiting. This is the landscape seagulls know intimately. They are coastal specialists, comfortable in places where land and ocean negotiate their boundaries twice a day. In daylight, they forage along the rack line, the band of seaweed, shells, and driftwood left behind by the tide. They patrol harbors and estuaries. They gather on piers and jetties, perching like patient observers. And when migration season approaches, they begin to shift their routines in small ways, responding to changes most of us barely notice. A gentle science note, simple and true. Migration isn't triggered by one single thing. It's a blend. Day length changes first, minute by minute, telling the body that seasons are turning. Temperature follows. Shifting winds and water conditions. Food availability changes too. Fish move, insects fade, coastal productivity rises and falls with currents. Together, these cues form a quiet signal, like nature tapping a shoulder and saying, "Soon." The ocean doesn't rush. It's not trying to meet a deadline. And the seagulls, despite their reputation for boldness, are often the same. They do not fling themselves dramatically into the unknown. They prepare, they gather, they rest more, they feed steadily, they watch the wind, because wind is everything to a bird. A tailwind can turn a long flight into a gentle glide. A headwind can make the same distance feel like wading through invisible water. And yes, sometimes they look like they're simply standing around doing nothing. This is not laziness. This is energy budgeting, which is nature's polite way of saying, "I'm saving my batteries." The seagull may appear casual, but inside, its body is timing and tuning itself for the journey. Here, on this coastline, the rules are simple. The tide keeps time, the wind writes routes, and the light quietly changes the schedule. Seagulls begin to notice, and as the nights deepen, the migration season opens like a door that doesn't creak, just swings slowly, inviting them onward. Migration begins not with a dramatic launch, but with subtle shifts, small flights, quiet regrouping, and the first coastal drift southward. The beginning of migration is rarely a single moment. There is no trumpet, no grand announcement. Instead, the first gentle departure arrives like a change in posture. A flock that used to linger a little longer at one beach begins leaving earlier. A familiar pier, once crowded at dusk, has more empty railings. The movement starts small, almost shy, as if the seagulls don't want to make a big deal out of it. On a cool morning, the air over the surf is smooth. The waves roll in with a muted confidence, and the sand is firm where the tide has recently pulled away. A few gulls lift off from a sandbar, not all at once, but one by one, each bird stepping into the wind as if testing it with a foot. Wings open wide, catching the air like sails. And then they go, low over the water, following the coastline the way you might follow a familiar road home, even in the dark. A gentle science note. Many seagulls migrate in a coastal corridor, using the shoreline as a guiding line. Water on one side, land on the other. Simple orientation. It's easier than crossing open ocean, and it keeps them close to feeding opportunities. Coastal migration also offers predictable resting places, barrier islands, salt marsh edges, rocky outcrops, quiet beaches that humans have not claimed for the day. Seagulls are built for this kind of travel. Their wings are broad and strong, designed for soaring and gliding. When conditions are right, a gull can travel a long distance without constant flapping. It can ride wind currents that rise from the warm land or skim along the air that moves over the waves. The bird becomes a quiet physics lesson, lift, drag, and the gentle math of survival. And still, the gull keeps it casual. It may glide for a while, then flap a few times, then glide again, like someone pacing themselves on a long walk, refusing to be overly dramatic about it. If there were a motto, it might be steady, not flashy, which honestly is excellent sleep advice too. Along the way, the flock is not a tight formation like geese. Gulls are looser, more informal, neighbors rather than soldiers. They keep enough spacing to avoid bumping, but they also keep close enough to read each other's choices. A bird changes altitude, another follows. One angles toward a calm inlet, a few more drift after it. It's coordination without obsession. When they stop gently. A sheltered bay, a quiet dock, a strip of sand that warms under sunlight. They land with that familiar little shuffle, wings folding, bodies settling. Then comes the simple work of travel. Drink, preen, rest, watch. Preening is more than tidying. It maintains feather structure, keeps insulation effective, and helps waterproof the plumage. Essential when your world is salt air and ocean spray. The first departure is not about distance, it's about direction. A shift toward where conditions will be kinder, where food will remain available, where winter will feel less demanding. The coast becomes a long, patient path, and the seagulls, half storybook characters, half quiet athletes, begin to drift into the season as naturally as a wave returning to shore. Seagulls read the wind like a map, using breezes, thermals, and coastal air currents to travel with minimal effort. If you want to understand how a seagull migrates, don't look first at the bird, look at the air around it. The wind is invisible, but it is never absent. It slides along the water, curls around dunes, lifts over cliffs, and streams down the coastline like a slow river made of breath. To us, wind is something we feel on our skin. To a gull, it's a guidebook, a moving map. On migration days, seagulls often wait. They stand in groups, facing a single direction, as if they're all watching the same quiet performance. Sometimes they are. They're waiting for the wind to be helpful. A tailwind, air moving in the same direction they want to go, turns effort into ease. A headwind makes the sky feel heavy. And so the gulls practice patience, letting the day ripen into the right conditions. A gentle science note: soaring birds like gulls use uplift, air that rises, to reduce the energy cost of flight. Along coastlines, uplift can come from thermals, warm air rising from sunlit land, and from ridge lift, wind hitting dunes or cliffs and being pushed upward. Even the boundary where warm land meets cool sea can create subtle air movements that a gull can sense and use. When the wind is right, the flight looks almost effortless. A gull lifts off, circles once, and then settles into a glide. Wings are held steady, slightly arched, the tips splayed like fingers. The bird barely moves, yet it travels. It's one of nature's quiet miracles, motion without hurry. Sometimes the gull will adjust its angle with tiny shifts, tilting a wing, changing its tail position, bending into the wind like a sailor leaning into a turn. These small corrections are constant, but they don't look tense. They look smooth, practiced, like the bird is listening to something soft and continuous, the way you might listen to rain. There's also a kind of gentle humor in how confident gulls can seem. They'll glide past you with the expression of someone who has absolutely never doubted themselves, not once, not even when landing on a wobbly railing. And then, occasionally, they'll misjudge a gust and have to flap in a quick burst of dignity-saving effort. Nothing dramatic, just a brief reminder that even experts sometimes get surprised by the weather. Wind doesn't only help them travel, it also shapes where they rest. A sheltered inlet tucked behind a spit of land offers calmer air and safer roosting. A sandbar exposed to strong wind might be avoided, and in stormy conditions, gulls may delay migration entirely, choosing to hunker down, conserve energy, and wait for the atmosphere to calm itself. This waiting is not failure, it's strategy. In nature, rest is often part of movement. The gull knows this. It knows when to go and when to be still. It lets the wind write the schedule. As you listen tonight, you might let that idea settle into your own body. You don't have to push through every moment. You can let the helpful winds carry you, and when the wind isn't kind, you can rest. The seagulls, drifting down the Atlantic coast, are not in a rush. They are following the air's quiet guidance, one breath of the world at a time. Along the migration route, seagulls pause where the ocean offers easy meals, rack lines, tidal flats, and quiet harbors that feel like gentle rest stops. Before any long journey, there's usually a simple need: to eat enough to make the travel possible. For Atlantic seagulls, migration season doesn't begin with drama. It begins with dinner, slow, practical, and oddly soothing to watch. Along the shoreline, the tide lays out a daily offering, and the gulls arrive like calm, experienced patrons at a familiar cafe. As the water retreats, it reveals the rack line, a scattered ribbon of seaweed, shells, driftwood, and small ocean leftovers. It might not look glamorous, but it's full of life. Tiny crustaceans, insects, bits of fish, the occasional snack that has drifted in from somewhere unknown. To a seagull, this isn't mess. It's opportunity. They walk with deliberate steps, heads tilting slightly, scanning with patient attention. Their world is a careful mix of sight and timing. A gentle science note: coastal birds often sync their feeding with the tides because the tide changes what's available. Low tide can reveal hidden food on mudflats and sandbars. High tide can push small fish closer to shore or concentrate life in sheltered pools. The gull doesn't need a clock. Its schedule is written in water. Sometimes the gulls feed alone, sometimes in loose groups. And there's a subtle etiquette to it. A bird might approach another's find with polite interest, then decide politeness is optional. It's not aggression so much as opportunistic confidence. If you've ever watched someone reach for the last snack at a party and pretend it was an accident, you already understand the vibe, but most of the time it's peaceful. The gull picks, swallows, pauses. The pause matters. It's a moment of stillness and motion, as if the bird is listening to the ocean between bites. And when it's done, it doesn't rush away. It stands, feathers ruffling in the breeze, then preens, carefully aligning each feather like a person smoothing a blanket before bed. These feeding stops become the punctuation marks of migration: a quiet harbor where fishing boats rest, a tidal flat where the mud shines under a thin layer of water, a sandy point that catches morning light. Each place offers the same message: you can refuel here, you can pause here, you are allowed to be unhurried. And while gulls have a reputation for boldness, migration season softens them. They become more focused, more routine-driven. They conserve energy. They choose food that offers good return on effort. They don't waste too much time chasing what isn't worth it. Another nice sleep lesson, honestly. As the day fades, the shoreline buffet closes slowly, not with an announcement, but with the tide returning. The gulls step back, as if the ocean is politely taking the table away, and they accept it, because tomorrow, the tide will set it again. They don't worry, they simply follow the rhythm. So tonight, let your thoughts feed the same way Small, simple, and then done. No need to chase anything. Just take what's gentle and let the rest drift back into the sea. Migration depends on quiet maintenance, preening, waterproofing, and the small rituals that keep a seagull warm, dry, and flight-ready. On the Atlantic coast, salt is everywhere. It rides the wind, it clings to rocks, it settles on feathers like a fine, invisible dust. For seagulls, this means one thing. If you want to travel well, you have to stay well kept, not fancy, functional. Migration season turns grooming into a calm, daily ritual, the kind of repetitive care that feels almost meditative to witness. You might see a gull perched on a weathered piling, legs tucked, body relaxed. Then it begins, the slow turn of the head, the precise reach of the beak, the gentle tug along a feather's edge. Preening is not random. Each feather has structure, barbs, and tiny hooks that zip together like a well-designed jacket. When the bird preens, it realigns those parts, restoring the feather's smooth surface. A smooth surface means better flight efficiency and better protection from cold air. A gentle science note. Many birds also spread oil from a gland near the tail, the uropygial gland, across their feathers during preening. This helps with waterproofing and feather conditioning. In a coastal life, staying dry is not a luxury. Wet feathers can mean less insulation and heavier flight. A gull that keeps its plumage in good condition is a gull that can rest more comfortably and travel more efficiently. There's something soothing about how unhurried this looks. The gull doesn't rush through it like a chore. It commits fully. A few minutes on the wing, then long minutes of careful care. It's like watching someone fold laundry with no background anxiety. Rare, inspiring. Occasionally, you'll notice the gentle humor of it too. A gull can look completely dignified until a sudden itch appears somewhere unreachable, and it makes a brief, awkward shimmy that says, "I am still a creature with a body, and this body has opinions." Then it settles again, acting as if nothing happened. Classic. During migration season, these rituals matter more. The air grows cooler, nights become longer. Resting on open sandbars exposes birds to wind and dampness, so they fluff their feathers, trapping air for warmth. They stand on one leg to reduce heat loss. They tuck their beaks into feathers, turning themselves into compact bundles of quiet. In a flock, grooming becomes communal calm. One gull preens, another dozes. A few watch the water. There's no panic, no fuss, just the steady maintenance of being alive. It's easy to forget that migration isn't only about movement, it's about preparation. It's about keeping the body ready to lift into the sky again when the wind says, now. So as you listen, consider this. Rest can be active without being stressful. Care can be slow. The gull's small rituals are not distractions from the journey. They are the journey's foundation. And you too are allowed to take your time becoming comfortable, settling your breath, smoothing your thoughts, and preparing for sleep as gently as a bird smoothing its feathers in moonlight. Seagulls migrate with loose cooperation, spacing, calls, and subtle cues that keep the group safe without feeling strict. A flock of seagulls doesn't move like a marching band. It moves like a conversation, unstructured, responsive, full of small adjustments. Along the Atlantic coast during migration season, you might see them rise from a sandbar in a scattered lift, then gather into a loose stream above the water. No tight V formation, no rigid rules, just a shared direction and a gentle awareness of one another. If you watch closely, There's communication happening all the time, even when it looks like nothing. A gull angles its wings and drifts slightly left. Another follows. A bird calls once, short and clear, and a few heads turn. A small cluster suddenly gains altitude, perhaps catching a better wind, and others adjust, as if they've noticed the sky's invisible staircase. A gentle science note. Flocking offers practical benefits. Many birds gain safety in numbers, more eyes to notice danger, more shared information about food and safe resting spots. Even without strict formation, group travel can help individuals make better choices, especially along long routes with changing weather. Seagulls are also social learners. Younger birds can watch older ones. New migrants can follow experienced paths. It's not a classroom, but there is a quiet passing down of knowledge. Where to rest, when to move, how to read a coastline that shifts with tides and storms. Migration season becomes a living tradition, carried not in books, but in behavior. And in the middle of all that, there's room for personality. Some gulls seem confident, leading small arcs forward. Some are more cautious, staying slightly behind. Some feel like they're simply along for the vibe, contributing minimal effort but maximum presence. Every group has one, honestly. On the ground, flock language becomes even softer. A gull might stretch a wing, signaling relaxation. Another might doze with one eye half open, resting, but still aware. A few might bicker briefly over space, then settle as if the disagreement never happened. The overall mood is steady. They aren't stressed. They are simply managing proximity, like commuters who want personal space, but also appreciate that the train exists. During migration season, this loose cooperation is important at night too. Roosting together on sandbars or protected bays helps reduce individual risk. A bird in the middle of the group may sleep more deeply. A bird on the edge may remain more alert. These roles can shift. It's a flexible system, not a rigid hierarchy. As the night deepens, the flock quiets. Calls become fewer. Bodies tuck into restful shapes. The group becomes a line of small, pale forms against the dark sea, like scattered shells on wet sand. And in that quiet, the flock's language continues without words. The shared stillness, the shared patience, the shared trust in the rhythm of the coast. Let that be a gentle thought for you tonight. You don't have to do everything alone. Even in sleep, you're held by patterns, breath, gravity, night air. The seagulls don't cling tightly to one another, but they do move together, calmly, softly, as if the world is easier when you let yourself be part of it. When weather turns rough, seagulls don't force the journey, they shelter. Conserve energy and let the coast teach patience. Not every migration day is a flying day. The Atlantic is generous, but it is also honest. Sometimes it offers calm air and smooth water. Sometimes it offers wind that snaps like a flag and rain that blurs the horizon. On those days, the seagulls make a choice that looks simple, but holds deep wisdom. They wait. A storm rolling in changes the whole tone of the coastline. The air thickens. The clouds lower. The sea's surface becomes textured, restless, as if the ocean is turning pages too quickly. Waves grow louder, less lullaby and more drum. Even the dunes seem to brace themselves, grass bending hard, then lifting, then bending again. A gentle science note. Flying in strong winds or heavy rain can be dangerous and energy expensive. Birds risk being blown off course, losing body heat. or burning too much energy to maintain control. Migration is not only about distance, it's about efficiency and survival. Waiting out bad weather is often the best strategy, so the gulls shift into storm mode. They move inland slightly toward sheltered marsh edges, behind dunes, into quiet harbors where buildings or landforms break the wind. They tuck their bodies down. They stand with feathers fluffed, creating insulation. They turn their backs to the wind, minimizing exposure. It's a posture of calm resistance, like someone pulling their coat tighter and deciding, not today. And if you've ever felt guilty for resting when conditions aren't supportive, the gulls would like to gently disagree with you. They are not ashamed of pausing. They do not think, I should be farther by now. They simply do what the moment asks. There's also a quiet humor to the way gulls pretend storms are no big deal. One might stand on a railing in a dramatic gust, feathers whipped, looking like a windswept philosopher, when clearly it is one strong breeze away from reconsidering all its life choices. Then it hops down behind cover and acts like that was the plan all along. During these pauses, they conserve energy and watch. Birds are excellent observers. They notice shifts in wind direction. They feel pressure changes. They sense when the air begins to smooth again. When the storm passes, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, the coast doesn't announce it. It simply softens. The rain lightens. The wind steadies. The clouds thin enough to let a pale strip of light show through. And then, quietly, the gulls begin again. Not immediately, not in a frenzy. They test the air. They take short flights. They regroup. Migration resumes like breathing resumes after a deep sigh. This is part of the journey too. The acceptance of weather, the respect for conditions, the confidence to pause. So tonight, if your mind is stormy, if thoughts feel loud or restless, consider borrowing the seagull's approach. Find shelter. Lower your effort. Let the storm pass without wrestling it. You don't have to force your way into sleep. The coast teaches that waiting isn't wasted time. It's wise time. It's protective time. And when the air is ready again, you'll drift forward naturally, like a gull lifting into a calmer sky, carried by a wind that finally feels kind. As daylight fades, seagulls choose safe resting places, quiet roosts shaped by tides, shelter, and the comfort of shared stillness. Even the most capable travelers need a place to stop. During the Atlantic seagull migration season, night is not a time for constant movement. It's a time for settling. The coastline offers many gentle resting places, and the gulls choose them with the quiet practicality of creatures who have learned what safe feels like. A sandbar at low tide can be a perfect roost, open enough to see danger coming, isolated enough to discourage many land predators, surrounded by water that acts like a natural boundary. A rocky outcrop can be another. A quiet pier, especially in an off-season harbor, offers height, stability, and the faint warmth of stored daytime heat in wood and stone. The gulls don't romanticize these choices. They select what works. A gentle science note: roosting behavior is often shaped by risk, temperature, and disturbance. Birds may prefer places where they can detect threats early, avoid getting soaked, and remain undisturbed by humans or predators. Coastal roosts are also influenced by the tide. A sandbar safe at midnight might be underwater by morning. As evening falls, the gulls arrive in small groups. They land with minimal fuss. Some shuffle into place, some preen a final time. Others simply stand, facing into the breeze, letting it cool their feathers. Their calls become quieter, spaced farther apart, as if even their voices are yawning. It's a peaceful sight, a line of pale shapes against dark water, each bird a small island of stillness. One may tuck its head into its back feathers, beak hidden, turning into a soft, rounded form. Another may remain alert a little longer, eyes open, scanning, then eventually relaxing. This is not fear. It's awareness. Nature doesn't sleep by turning off completely. It sleeps by softening. Sometimes a gull balances on one leg, the other tucked up for warmth. Sometimes it lowers its body to reduce wind exposure. On colder nights, the flock may huddle slightly closer, not pressed together, but near enough to share the comfort of proximity. Their bodies create a small microclimate of warmth and shared calm. And yes, now and then, one gull will pick the most dramatic perch possible, like the very edge of a narrow railing, then settle there with perfect confidence. It's hard not to admire that level of self-assurance right before bedtime. Imagine being so calm you can sleep on a stick over water. The gulls are quietly overqualified for relaxation. As the night deepens, the coastline's sounds stretch out. Waves continue their steady hush. A distant buoy bell may ring. Wind slides past, cool and consistent. The gulls become part of that soundscape, not active participants, but quiet notes held in place. Let your mind roost in the same way tonight. Choose a gentle place inside yourself. Let your thoughts line up like birds on a sandbar, close enough to feel supported, far enough apart to be calm. Tuck in what doesn't need to be awake. Keep only the soft awareness that you are safe, here, now, in the quiet rhythm of the earth. And as the gulls rest under Atlantic moonlight, the migration continues, paused, not ended, waiting for morning's kind air to lift them onward. Morning becomes a gentle launch pad, soft light, calmer winds, and the first quiet flights of the day along the Atlantic edge. Dawn on the Atlantic coast doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in. The sky lightens from charcoal to deep blue, then to a thin wash of pearl. The ocean changes its texture as the first light touches it, less like a blanket, more like a living surface. The tide keeps moving, of course. It always does. But in the early morning, everything feels slower, as if the world is stretching after sleep. On a sandbar, seagulls begin to wake in small motions. A head lifts, a wing stretches, a beak tucks briefly into feathers again, as if the bird is negotiating for 5 more minutes. Then gradually, the flock becomes more upright, more alert. The morning breeze is often steadier than the afternoon's restless gusts, and seagulls seem to notice. They turn into it. They stand facing the wind, like quiet sailors, reading a sky they've trusted for generations. A gentle science note. Many birds time travel with favorable wind conditions and thermal patterns. Early morning can offer smoother air, and as the day warms, thermals may build, rising columns of air that help soaring birds gain altitude with less effort. For coastal gulls, the transition from cool night air to warming land can create subtle lift near shore. The takeoff, when it happens, is not dramatic. A gull steps forward, wings unfolding wide, and for a second it looks almost too large for its own body, like a blanket being shaken out. Then it catches the wind, and the bird becomes weightless. One lifts, another follows, a few more, and suddenly the air above the sandbar holds a scattered ribbon of moving wings, gliding low and then rising. Some gulls fly close to the water, riding the air that skims over wave tops. Others climb higher, where the coastline becomes a thin line and the sea becomes an endless, calm, dark blue field. They don't all go at the same speed. They don't all go the same way. But they share a direction, and that's enough. There's a kind of gentle humor in watching them act like professionals about it, calm, confident, as if they have a clipboard somewhere that says, "Morning flight, approved." And yet, one gull will inevitably flap a little too hard, wobble for a moment, then regain composure with the expression of someone pretending nothing happened. Migration doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. As they travel, the coastline offers familiar landmarks, a distant lighthouse, a curve of beach, a river mouth glowing faintly with reflected sky. The gulls follow these shapes like you might follow a quiet road you've driven 100 times, comforted by recognition. Their movement is steady, their bodies relaxed. The journey is long, but each morning is just one small piece of it. Let this part of the story soften you too. Morning is not always a rush. It can be a slow beginning. The gulls don't launch in panic. They wait until the air is kind. And you tonight can do the same. Waiting for your mind to become kind, letting your breathing lift you gently, without force, into the quiet drift of sleep. Seagulls navigate with layered cues, coastline shapes, sunlight, stars, and an internal sense of direction that feels like quiet certainty. If you've ever walked along a beach and used the shoreline as your guide, water on one side, land on the other, you already understand one of a seagull's simplest navigation tools. The Atlantic coast is a long, continuous line. For migrating gulls, it's like a gently drawn path across the map of the world. But the gull's guidance doesn't stop at what it can see. Its sense of direction is layered, quiet, and surprisingly elegant. On a clear day, sunlight offers an orientation cue. The sun rises and sets with consistent pattern, and many birds can use its position, along with an internal sense of time, to maintain a general heading. This doesn't require the bird to think in a human way. It's more like a built-in rhythm. The body knows what the light means. A gentle science note. Research across many bird species suggests that migration navigation can involve multiple mechanisms: landmarks, sun compass, star patterns, and even sensitivity to Earth's magnetic field. Birds don't rely on one single cue, they combine them. If clouds hide the sun, landmarks help. If landmarks are unfamiliar, the magnetic sense offers a baseline. It's redundancy, which is nature's way of building calm into uncertainty. At night, the sky changes its language. Stars appear. The ocean darkens. The coastline becomes a shadow. Yet gulls can still move with confidence, especially along familiar coastal routes. There's something comforting about that. How direction can exist even in low light. How guidance can be felt rather than seen. Imagine a migrating gull gliding over a moonlit bay. The water below reflects the sky in broken pieces. A distant city glow sits on the horizon like a soft lantern. The gull holds steady, wings barely moving, as if the air itself is carrying it along the correct line. It is following subtle cues, the curve of the shore, the wind's angle, the faint memory of where the next safe inlet might be. And still, there is room for a tiny, affectionate observation. Sometimes gulls look so sure of themselves that you'd think they personally invented north. They drift past like quiet experts, as if the entire planet's compass system is simply part of their personality. Meanwhile, many of us can't find our car in a parking lot without emotional support. The more we watch them, the more migration feels less like travel and more like remembering. The gull is not solving a puzzle in the sky. It is responding to a world it has learned through instinct, experience, and the guidance of others. Navigation becomes a soft partnership between body and landscape. So tonight, if your thoughts feel lost, if your mind is wandering without a clear direction, let this be a gentle comfort. You don't have to force your way towards sleep. You can follow simpler cues. Breath in, breath out, the steady shoreline of your own body, the quiet north of gravity pulling you into bed. Like a gull in the night sky, you can drift by feel, guided by what's steady and kind. River mouths and marshes become migration rest stops, rich in food, calm in shelter, and full of small, quiet life. Along the Atlantic coast, there are places where the sea becomes less salty, where the water slows and spreads out, and the land grows soft around it. These are estuaries, river mouths, tidal marshes, brackish bays, where fresh water and ocean water mingle like two gentle conversations overlapping. For migrating seagulls, estuaries are not just scenery. They are rest stops with excellent amenities, food, shelter, and a rhythm that feels predictable. At low tide, mudflats appear, wide, shining, patterned surfaces that look almost like the skin of the earth. Small channels snake through them, catching moonlight or morning light in thin ribbons. The air here smells different than the open ocean. Earthy, green, slightly sweet. Marsh grasses sway with the tide, rising and falling like slow breathing. A gentle science note. Estuaries are among the most productive ecosystems in the world. Nutrients carried by rivers meet the mixing action of tides, supporting plankton, fish nurseries, shellfish beds, and countless small organisms. This productivity makes estuaries vital feeding areas for many birds, including gulls, especially during energetically demanding seasons like migration. Seagulls arrive at these places with a calm purpose. They may circle once, then land on a sandbar tucked into a sheltered corner. They walk along the edge where water and mud meet, watching for movement. Sometimes they pick delicately. Sometimes they stand still for long moments, as if listening through their feet. Even when they're hunting, the energy feels unhurried, like they trust that the marsh will provide what it provides in its own time. In an estuary, gulls also share space with other birds, herons standing like quiet statues, sandpipers skittering along the shallows, egrets moving with careful elegance. The whole scene feels like a slow documentary that forgot to add background music because it didn't need it. The soundscape is already complete. Faint water trickles, distant waves, occasional wingbeats, and the soft, conversational calls of birds checking in with one another. And yes, sometimes a gull will steal a snack from another bird and then walk away with the casual confidence of someone who has never once considered consequences. But even that here feels subdued. A brief moment of gullness, then back to calm. Estuaries offer shelter too. When winds blow hard along open beaches, marshes can be calmer. Tall grasses and winding channels break the force of air. The gulls can rest more deeply, conserving energy for the next stretch of coastline. They preen, they doze, They stand with their bodies angled into the breeze, letting it dry their feathers and cool their minds. If you need a metaphor tonight, let the estuary be it, a meeting place where different currents can coexist without conflict. Freshwater and saltwater blend. Movement and stillness share the same space, and you too can be a gentle meeting place, where thoughts come and go, where breath continues, where sleep can arrive not as a command, but as a tide that knows exactly when to return. Migration passes through human-made spaces too. Quiet docks, winter marinas, and city lights that become soft landmarks in the coastal night. Not every part of wild migration looks wild in the way we expect. Along the Atlantic, the Seagull's route often threads through places we built. Harbors, docks, bridges, marinas where boats rock gently against their lines. In the off-season, these human edges can become surprisingly quiet. The crowds fade, the lights soften, and the gulls slip in as if they've always belonged there, because in a way, they have. At night, a harbor becomes its own small world. Water in the basin is calmer than the open sea, reflecting streetlights in long, trembling lines. Wooden pilings hold the scent of salt and algae. A fishing boat creaks once, then settles. The air is cooler here, carrying faint hints of fuel, rope, and seaweed, human and ocean layered together. A gentle science note. Birds often use structures as perches and roosts because they offer stability, height, and clear views. In migration season, gulls may rest on piers, rooftops near the shore, or breakwaters. These places can also provide warmth, stone, and concrete hold heat from the day, and release it slowly at night. Seagulls perch with that familiar coastal confidence. They stand on railings, heads turning in smooth movements, watching the world as if they're on quiet patrol. They do not seem bothered by the fact that this nature includes parking lots and lampposts. They adapt. They read the environment as it is, not as we wish it would be. And sometimes, the humor arrives gently. A gull perched on a no parking sign at 2 a.m. looks like it's enforcing rules it did not write. Or a gull sitting on the very top of a mooring post looks like it's auditioning for the role of harbor mayor. It's subtle, but it's there, nature's small wink in human spaces. City lights can also become navigation cues. The glow on the horizon marks where land curves, where rivers meet the sea, where coastlines bend toward new bays. Of course, artificial light can confuse some birds, especially during foggy nights. But gulls along familiar routes often manage these brightness zones with practical caution, staying close to shoreline shapes and safe landing options. Harbors also offer food opportunities, discarded fish bits, small crabs along seawalls, the occasional easy find. But in migration season, many gulls become more selective, more measured. They're not just living for the moment, they're fueling a journey. There's something comforting about how they move through our world without becoming frantic. They take what is useful, ignore what is noisy, and find calm wherever calm exists. A quiet corner of a marina, a sheltered breakwater, a rooftop with a view of the tide. So if your mind feels cluttered with human things, messages, plans, the bright hum of modern life, let the gulls show you a softer approach. You can drift through the human edges without absorbing their urgency. You can perch, rest, and let the noise stay outside you. Even in places made by people, the night can still be gentle. The water still moves like a lullaby, and you can still fall asleep beside it. Juvenile seagulls migrate with extra pauses, learning winds, landmarks, and flock rhythms through observation and gentle trial. Not every seagull you see during migration season is an experienced traveler. Some are young, juveniles with mottled plumage, softer patterns of brown and gray, bodies still growing into the clean lines of adulthood. They carry the same instinct to move, but their movement often comes with extra caution, extra resting, extra watching. And in a way, that makes the migration story even softer, because it becomes not only a journey, but a lesson. A young gull perched on a driftwood log might look around with alert curiosity. It watches older birds. It studies where they land. It notices which direction they face into the wind. It learns the coastline not from a map, but from repetition. Beach to inlet, inlet to harbor, harbor to sandbar. Small segments stitched together into a route the body begins to remember. A gentle science note. In many bird species, migration involves a mix of innate orientation and learned experience. Some aspects, like the urge to move and general directional preference, can be hardwired. But fine-scale knowledge, safe roosts, feeding hotspots, how to manage storms, can be learned over time through practice and observation. Juvenile gulls tend to be more experimental. They might flap more, wasting energy, because they haven't mastered effortless gliding. They might misjudge a landing and have to hop awkwardly to recover balance. They might follow the flock a little too closely, then overcorrect, then pretend they meant to do that. It's gentle, familiar, and honestly endearing. Nature doesn't shame beginners. It simply gives them more chances. In the air, young gulls learn to read the wind by feeling it. A gust pushes, and the bird adjusts. It learns that some air feels smooth, and some air feels like invisible bumps. It discovers that flying low over water can be efficient, but that higher altitude sometimes offers steadier currents. It learns to time movement with daylight, to rest when the weather isn't kind, to feed before hunger becomes urgent. And on the ground, young gulls learn the social rhythm of the flock, when to approach, when to keep distance, when a quiet call means safe, and when it means pay attention. They learn that stillness is not emptiness, it's preparation. The flock's calm becomes a teacher. There is a softness in this learning that can comfort you tonight. Because so many of us carry a secret belief that we should already know how to do everything, how to rest, how to stop thinking, how to fall asleep quickly. But the young gull shows another truth. Skill comes slowly. Comfort comes with practice. Even the experts were once awkward, uncertain birds learning how to hold a wing steady. So if sleep has felt difficult lately, if your mind flutters or wobbles, consider that you might simply be learning a new kind of calm. You can try, pause, adjust, and try again. Like a juvenile gull on the migration route, you don't need to be perfect. You only need to keep returning to what helps. A steady breath, a quiet place, a gentle rhythm. And over time, without force, the body learns, the mind learns. The route to sleep becomes familiar, one calm shoreline at a time. Seagulls time their days by water, not hours, feeding, resting, and traveling in sync with the slow breathing of the Atlantic tide. The Atlantic doesn't wear a wristwatch. It keeps time the old way, by pulling the ocean toward shore, then letting it drift away again. Twice a day, the coastline changes its shape, and the seagulls change with it, as if they're listening to a quiet bell only they can hear. During migration season, this tidal rhythm becomes more than background. It becomes a schedule, soft, reliable, and unhurried. At low tide, the beach widens. Sandbars rise like sleeping animals, exposed and pale. Shallow pools catch the sky. The air smells more earthy, more open. Seagulls spread out along the rack line, walking with a steady pace, stopping often to look down, then peck. Small, precise actions that feel like the calm work of someone tidying a room. Low tide reveals what was hidden: tiny crabs, shellfish, stranded bits of sea life. It's a slow, generous buffet. A gentle science note: tides are driven largely by the moon's gravitational pull, creating predictable cycles of rising and falling sea levels. These cycles shape coastal feeding opportunities. Many shoreline animals become accessible at low tide, while high tide concentrates fish and floating food closer to shore or into sheltered areas. For gulls, the tide is like a moving menu. As the water returns, the gulls adjust. They don't panic. They simply step back, moving with the tide as if it's a polite dance partner. Some shift to higher sand. Some fly to a pier or rocky edge. Some pause and preen, using the closed hours of feeding time for feather care and rest. It's a gentle lesson in timing. When the world offers, you take. When it pulls away, you soften and wait. And there's something quietly funny about how gulls treat this like absolute law. When the tide rises, they'll stare at the water with the seriousness of a board meeting, as if the ocean has broken a contract. Then they shrug, well, in a gull sort of way, and relocate. They are surprisingly good at accepting reality once they've stared at it long enough. In the evening, high tide can turn some roosting places into islands, which the gulls often prefer. A sandbar surrounded by water becomes safer. The flock gathers. Bodies settle. The tide holds them gently apart from the land's hidden movements. The sea becomes both boundary and blanket. If you listen closely, you can hear the tide's rhythm as a kind of breathing: forward, back, forward, back. It doesn't rush its exhale. It doesn't force its inhale. It simply moves, steady and patient. Tonight, let your breathing borrow that pace. Let your thoughts come in like a tide, then drift out again. If they bring something useful, you can notice it. If they bring nothing, that's fine too. The tide doesn't always deliver treasures. Sometimes it just delivers quiet. And quiet, in migration season and in sleep, is more than enough. Migration requires invisible preparation, steady feeding, conserving warmth, and quietly building the reserves that make long coastal flights possible. A migrating seagull isn't always moving. Often, it's preparing to move, and that preparation is surprisingly gentle. It looks like standing still. It looks like eating calmly. It looks like resting without guilt. But inside the bird's body, there's a quiet accounting happening, nature's calm math: energy in, energy saved, energy spent. Along the Atlantic coast, you might see gulls feeding more consistently as migration season deepens, not frantically, just steadily. A few pecks at the rack line, a pause, another bite, then a long break to preen or simply stand facing the breeze. They're not trying to bulk up in a dramatic way. They're building reserves the way the ocean builds a sandbar, grain by grain, tide by tide. A gentle science note: many migrating birds rely on stored energy, often in the form of fat deposits to fuel long flights. Fat is energy dense, providing more fuel per gram than carbohydrates or protein. Birds may increase feeding before migration or along the route, balancing weight, which can make flight more costly, with the need for reserves. For gulls, the coast helps with this balance. They can travel in segments, stopping often. They don't always need a single massive fueling session. Instead, they use a pattern of eat, rest, move, rest, eat. Their bodies become tuned to efficiency. When conditions are right, they glide more and flap less. When conditions are wrong, they wait. Their decisions are not emotional. They're practical, shaped by long evolution and immediate weather. The physical signs are subtle. A gull might fluff its feathers when wind cuts cold, trapping warm air close to the body. It might tuck one leg, then the other, reducing heat loss. It might choose a roost that's sheltered, even if it's slightly farther from food. These are small choices, but they conserve energy. And energy saved is energy available for flight. There's also a quiet comedy in how serious gulls can look while doing very basic things. A gull eating a small crab might hold it like a prized artifact, then swallow it whole with the expression of someone finishing a gourmet meal. A gull standing in wind might look like it's modeling for a coastal fashion magazine, winter collection, featuring feathers and determination. The humor isn't loud, it's just a gentle warmth in the observation. As evening comes, the flock settles, bodies become rounder shapes. Breathing slows, the gull's heart rate lowers. Rest is not optional, it's part of the fueling. Sleep helps repair tissue, maintain immune function, and preserve the body's readiness. In migration season, rest becomes a quiet investment. And here is the soft reflection. Your body also does calm math. It counts strain and recovery. It adds up stress and rest. If you've been spending a lot lately, work, worries, decisions, then rest isn't laziness. It's refueling. The gull doesn't apologize for pausing. It doesn't call itself unproductive. It simply prepares for what comes next. So tonight, let your body store something gentle. Let your mind stop flapping. Let the coast do the planning. Like a seagull in migration season, you can settle into the simplest truth. Conserve what you need, release what you don't, and trust that you'll move again when the air is kind. Seagulls use lift, thermals, and coastal updrafts to gain altitude with ease, turning migration into gliding whenever the sky allows. Sometimes the sky helps, not with fireworks or fanfare, just with small, invisible staircases of rising air. Along the Atlantic coast, as the day warms and land meets sea, the atmosphere begins to shift. Air over sunlit surfaces rises. Breezes strike dunes and cliffs and curl upward. And seagulls, who seem born to notice what we can't see, step onto that lift as calmly as you might step onto a moving walkway. You may spot one gull circling slowly above a beach, wings held steady, barely flapping. It rises in a gentle spiral, not because it's working harder, but because it's working smarter. Then it turns and glides forward, losing a little height before circling again. This is migration by ease, an energy-saving pattern that turns distance into something almost effortless. A gentle science note. Thermals are columns of rising warm air created when sunlight heats the ground unevenly. Ridge lift forms when wind hits a slope or dune and is forced upward. Soaring birds can use these to gain altitude without continuous flapping, conserving energy over long journeys. The sensation, if we could feel it, might be like being gently carried upward by a slow elevator. The gull's wings become the interface between body and air, reading pressure changes like fingertips reading braille. A small tilt, a small adjustment, and the bird stays in the lift zone. It's quiet skill, flight as listening, and still, the gull looks casual about it. It might glide past with a calm face, as if it has never once struggled in its life. Even when the thermal weakens, it will flap a few times, just enough to maintain dignity. Then find another rising stream. The confidence is impressive, slightly suspicious, but impressive. Over the ocean, lift can also come from wind interacting with waves and temperature gradients. Near shore, where cool sea air meets warmer land air, subtle currents form. The coastline becomes a place where the sky is constantly rearranging itself, offering brief chances for effortless travel. Seagulls take those chances the way you might take an open seat on a quiet train, gratefully, without making a scene. When they glide, there's a softness to it. Wingbeats become rare. Sound fades. The bird becomes a shape moving through light. If the sun is low, feathers catch a pale glow. If clouds cover the sky, the gull becomes a gentle silhouette. Either way, the movement feels like drifting rather than striving. This is one of migration's quiet truths. The journey isn't always hard. Nature often provides help, if you're patient enough to notice it. The gull doesn't force the air to lift it. It waits for lift, seeks lift, and then accepts it. Tonight, you can do the same. You don't have to muscle your mind into sleep. You can look for the gentle upward currents, small comforts, steady breathing, the calm weight of blankets, the hush of night sounds. Let sleep be the thermal you circle into. Let your thoughts glide instead of flap. Let the invisible staircases of rest carry you upward, and then, softly, downward into deeper calm. Migration includes watchfulness, choosing open roosts, reading danger cues, and staying calm without turning the world into a battlefield. Even in a peaceful story, the wild carries awareness. Not fear, awareness. Along the Atlantic during migration season, seagulls live with the simple reality that not every shadow is harmless. A hawk might pass overhead, a fox might patrol the dunes, a dog might appear on a beach at the wrong moment, and still, the gulls remain mostly calm because they've learned a quiet skill, maintaining safety without carrying panic. You can see this in how they choose where to rest. A sandbar surrounded by water is safer than a sheltered nook with hidden corners. A wide open beach offers clear sightlines. A pier provides height. The gull prefers places where it can see what's coming and leave easily. Escape routes matter, not because the world is hostile, but because readiness is comforting. A gentle science note. Many birds balance energy conservation with predator detection. They may roost in groups, take turns being more alert, and choose habitats that reduce surprise encounters. This helps them rest more effectively while maintaining safety. In a flock, watchfulness becomes shared. One gull lifts its head sharply, others notice. A brief alarm call travels through the group like a ripple. Wings tense for a moment. Then, if the threat passes, bodies relax again. The reset is important. The gull doesn't stay stuck in alarm longer than necessary. It returns to stillness as soon as it can. That's not naive. That's efficient. And yes, occasionally there's a small comedic beat. One gull will react dramatically to something minor, like a floating leaf or a suspiciously shaped piece of seaweed, startling the entire group into a brief shuffle. Then everyone settles, as if collectively agreeing never to mention it again. Migration is serious business, but gulls are still gulls. When predators do appear, gulls often use simple tactics: take off together, gain height, move to open water, circle until safe. They don't chase drama, they choose distance. The ocean itself becomes a refuge, harder for many land predators to reach, offering space and visibility. This soft awareness also shapes their travel timing. A gull may prefer to move during daylight for better visibility, or it may roost in brighter, open spaces at night. It may avoid heavily disturbed beaches and choose quieter inlets. These are small choices, repeated, that create safety over time. If you're listening tonight with a mind that tends to scan for danger, replaying conversations, worrying about tomorrow, consider borrowing the gull's way. Awareness does not have to become anxiety. You can notice, you can adjust, and then you can return to calm. The gull doesn't clutch the alarm call and carry it into the next hour. It lets the moment pass. So let your body do the same. Check in gently. You are here. You are safe. You can rest. Then release the need to keep watch. Let the flock of your thoughts settle. Let the night hold the perimeter. Like a seagull on a moonlit sandbar, you can sleep with soft awareness and nothing more. Migration follows familiar shapes, curves of shore, river mouths, and steady landmarks that guide seagulls like a gentle, living map. Some guides don't move. Along the Atlantic coast, the world offers steady shapes that have watched migration for centuries. Lighthouses standing against wind, cliffs worn smooth by time, river mouths opening like dark doorways into inland water. Seagulls use these features not as symbols, but as practical cues. A coastline's curve can tell you where you are. A peninsula can hint at where the wind will change. A harbor can promise shelter. In early morning, a lighthouse might appear as a pale vertical line against a brightening sky. The gull approaches without hesitation, gliding past the structure as if it's greeting an old neighbor. Below, waves break against rocks, sending up white spray that dissolves into mist. The air smells sharp and clean. The world feels awake but not loud. A gentle science note. Many birds navigate using a combination of innate direction and learned landmarks. Over repeated seasons, individuals can develop route familiarity, recognizing geographic features that signal safe resting places, feeding grounds, or directional changes. Coastal migration corridors provide especially strong visual guidance because the boundary between land and sea is clear and continuous. For a gull, landmarks are also about comfort. Familiarity reduces uncertainty. A known bay means a known roost. A known inlet means predictable food. Migration becomes less unknown territory and more a series of remembered places, stitched together by wind and tide. There's something soothing about this, how a bird can carry a coastline in its memory, not like a mental photograph, but like a bodily knowing. Turn here, rest there, follow the beach until the river mouth, then drift along the marsh edge. The route lives in repetition, and repetition becomes calm. And quietly, there's humor in how gulls treat human landmarks as if they were built for them. A gull perched atop a lighthouse railing looks like it's supervising the entire ocean. A gull on a bridge beam looks like it's reviewing traffic patterns. They do this with such serious expressions that you can't help but smile softly. Not because it's silly, but because it's oddly endearing. Nature confidently using whatever exists. As the day progresses, the light changes, and landmarks change with it. A cliff face warms to gold, a harbor glows. The shoreline's edge becomes a thin, bright line where waves lace the sand. The gulls move through this shifting gallery as calm visitors, never rushed, never overwhelmed. Tonight, let the idea of landmarks become your gentle anchor. You don't need to navigate your whole life right now. You only need to recognize what is steady in this moment. The bed beneath you, the rhythm of breath, the quiet around you. These are your lighthouses, your cliffs, your shoreline, and like a migrating seagull following familiar curves of coast, you can let yourself drift towards sleep by following the simplest map, one calm breath at a time, guided by what doesn't change. Migration is often a series of small coastal segments, steady travel, gentle stops, and a rhythm that feels like drifting rather than racing. Not all journeys feel like journeys from the inside. Sometimes they feel like a gradual change in scenery. That's often how the Atlantic seagull migration unfolds, less like a single leap across a map, and more like a long drift along the shoreline, guided by wind, food, and familiarity. Imagine a gull traveling south. It doesn't announce its intention. It simply leaves a beach where the morning air has become a little too sharp. It follows the waterline, gliding above foam, tracing the curve of the coast as if it's reading a sentence written in sand. An hour later, it pauses at a sheltered inlet. Later still, it lifts again. A day becomes a chain of these gentle segments. A gentle science note: many migratory movements happen in hops, with birds traveling between resting and feeding sites rather than flying continuously for long distances. This reduces risk and allows for frequent refueling. Coastal environments are especially suited to this pattern because they offer abundant stopover habitats, estuaries, beaches, dunes, harbors, and sandbars. The gull's movement can look almost lazy, but it isn't. It is efficient. It chooses the easiest air. It uses the coastline's lift. It glides whenever it can. In flight, it might flap for a short burst, then settle back into a glide, wings steady and wide. The body stays loose, not tense. The eye stays alert, not anxious. And while it drifts, the world slides by in slow detail. A strand of seaweed rolling in the surf, a distant boat leaving a soft wake, a low cloud bank resting on the horizon. The gull is not just traveling through space, it is traveling through seasons, moving toward a coast that will be kinder, warmer, more forgiving. Sometimes the drift includes unexpected pauses, a sudden headwind, a storm line in the distance. The gull chooses not to fight it. It lands instead, perching on a quiet pier and turning itself into a small, rested shape. There is a kind of confidence in this, the belief that stopping does not mean failing. It means listening. And sometimes, the drift includes a small moment of gentle comedy, a gull gliding with perfect grace, until it notices something interesting below and does an abrupt, slightly awkward tilt, like a person suddenly remembering they left the stove on. Then it regains composure and continues, pretending the maneuver was a planned, advanced technique. This long drift is the heart of migration season. It isn't constant drama. It's a rhythm. Move, pause, feed, rest, repeat. Each segment is small, but together they become a great seasonal shift. Tonight, if you're still awake, you can drift in the same way. You don't have to arrive at sleep all at once. You can travel there in small segments. Let your mind glide for a little while, then rest. Let your thoughts move, then settle. Each breath is a small hop closer to calm, and before you know it, without force, you'll have drifted into the softer coast of sleep. The seagull's flight soundscape, gentle wing beats, wind hush, and the calming acoustics of gliding over water. There's a particular sound that belongs to coastal flight. It isn't loud. It's not the sharp whir of a small bird's rapid wings. It's broader, slower, softer, like fabric moving through air. A seagull's wing beats, when you hear them up close, carry a calm weight. They arrive in steady intervals, then fade as the bird glides, letting the wind hold it. At night or in early morning, the soundscape becomes even gentler. The ocean provides a constant hush, like distant white noise. The wind moves through beach grass with a faint, whispery rustle. And above that, a gull passes overhead, one or two slow wing beats, then silence again. The silence is not empty. It's full of air. A gentle science note. Birds that glide and soar often alternate between flapping and gliding to manage energy. Flapping creates lift and forward motion, while gliding uses existing lift and reduces muscular effort. In calm conditions, a gull may glide for long stretches, producing very little sound aside from wind moving over feathers. Feathers themselves are quiet technology. Their layered structure can reduce noise, and their flexibility allows smooth adjustments without harsh sound. When a gull changes direction, the sound is minimal, often just a faint whoosh as air slides along the wing surface. Over open water, where there are fewer echoes, the sound dissipates quickly. It's one reason coastal nights can feel so soothing. The environment doesn't trap sound, it lets it go. Sometimes you'll hear a gull call, brief, bright, and then gone. In the context of this quiet world, even the call feels softer, like a note dropped into water. It ripples, then fades. The coast doesn't cling to noise. It absorbs and releases it. There's also something gently funny about how gulls can be so noisy in daylight and so restrained at night, as if they have a social rule. After dark, we whisper. And then, occasionally, one gull forgets and calls out once, too loud, too enthusiastic, and the others react with a collective silence that feels like an unspoken, "Please, we're trying to rest." Then everyone returns to calm. As you listen, you might notice your own soundscape, the subtle rustle of blankets, the soft shift of breath, perhaps distant city sounds. Let them be like wing beats, arriving, passing, fading. No need to fight them, no need to interpret them. The coast teaches that sound is part of settling, and if thoughts flap loudly in your mind, let them glide too. A thought can arrive, then release. It can move past without needing to land. Like a gull over moonlit water, you can allow your mind to become quieter through simple alternation. A little motion, then stillness. A few wing beats, then a long, gentle glide into sleep. Seagulls track shifting food sources, small fish, tidal life, and seasonal changes that quietly guide migration timing and routes. Migration isn't only about temperature, it's about food, the quiet movements of life beneath the surface. Along the Atlantic, small fish shift with currents. Schools appear and disappear. Inlets become rich, then less so. The ocean is always rearranging its pantry, and the seagulls learn to follow the rearrangement with calm attention. Near a river mouth, you might see gulls hovering briefly, then dipping down. The water's surface breaks with tiny flashes, bait fish scattering, a predator below pushing them upward. Sometimes the gulls simply float on the air and watch, waiting for the right moment. Sometimes they drop quickly, snatching a small fish and rising again, wings beating slowly, as if they don't want to disturb the morning more than necessary. A gentle science note. Coastal food availability is shaped by many factors: water temperature, currents, plankton blooms, and fish spawning cycles. Birds that depend on these food webs often time movements to match seasonal peaks and dips in availability. For gulls, following food can mean following the coast to where conditions remain productive longer into the year. When the sea cools, some fish species move to deeper water or shift southward. Insects along the shoreline become less abundant. Even the small organisms in the rackline change. The gull notices, not in words, but in outcomes. It finds less food in one place, more in another. It begins to travel farther between good stops. Eventually, the simplest choice becomes movement. Drift toward the coast, where the ocean still offers easy meals. And sometimes, migration choices are made by the tiniest things. A change in plankton can ripple outward, influencing small fish, then larger fish, then birds. The entire system is a quiet network, not a battlefield, more like a long conversation between species, each responding to the other's timing. There's also the gentle humor of gull flexibility. If a fish isn't available, the gull will happily switch to something else. It might forage along the beach, pick at shellfish, or investigate a floating object with the seriousness of a detective. It's the kind of adaptability that feels both impressive and faintly comedic. The gull is always ready for Plan B. Plan B might be whatever is edible, but it counts. As migration continues, gulls learn which areas stay productive. Certain bays hold fish longer. Certain estuaries remain rich. Certain harbors provide steady scraps. These places become familiar nodes along the route, like dependable rest stops on a long road. Tonight, let this be a gentle reflection. Movement often follows nourishment, not only for birds, for us too. We move toward what replenishes us, even if we don't always name it. Sleep is one of those places. It is a coast your body returns to, a shelter your mind seeks when the day's food has been spent. So let yourself follow what feeds you now. Quiet, warmth, steady breath. Let the world outside keep shifting its currents. You don't have to track them tonight. Like a seagull listening to the ocean's subtle signals, you can simply drift toward the place where rest is abundant. Landscapes carry memory through marks and patterns, shell lines, dune shapes, and tide-written stories that hold migration without holding it too tightly. The Atlantic coast is always changing, but it never feels unfamiliar. That's one of its quiet mysteries, how something can shift every day and still feel like itself. The tide comes in and out, rewriting the shoreline in thin strokes. Wind reshapes dunes grain by grain. Driftwood moves, seaweed rearranges, and yet the coast holds memory, just not the kind we keep in words. You can see it in the lines the tide leaves behind, faint ridges in sand like soft fingerprints. You can see it in shell fragments gathered into arcs, marking where the water rested at high tide. You can see it in a dune slope, telling you which direction the strongest winds usually travel. The coast remembers through form, through texture, through patterns repeated enough times to become quietly reliable. A gentle science note. Coastal landscapes are shaped by continuous feedback, tides, storms, sediment movement, plant roots stabilizing sand, and the slow push-pull of erosion and deposition. These processes store information in the land's shape. Not intention, not thought, just a physical record of what has happened. During migration season, seagulls move through these remembered patterns like readers of a familiar story. A sandbar that appears at low tide is a predictable chapter. A sheltered bay is a recurring paragraph. A river mouth is a steady turning point in the plot. The gull doesn't need to know the coast in a human way. It only needs to respond to the coast's consistency. The landscape offers cues, and the body answers them. And the coast remembers the gulls too, not as individuals, but as a presence. Feathers caught in dune grass, footprints scattered along wet sand, brief calls that echo once against a cliff and then dissolve into air. Nothing permanent, nothing owned. Just a passing imprint, like a thought that visits and leaves without causing harm. There's something comforting about memory that doesn't cling. The coast does not hoard. It does not insist on replaying yesterday. It carries evidence, and then it lets the next tide come. It is, in a quiet way, an expert at moving on. A gentle feather of humor drifts in here. If the coastline could speak, it might say, "Yes, I remember that storm from 3 winters ago. And yes, I'm still fine. Thank you for asking." The coast has excellent emotional regulation, mostly because it's been practicing for a very long time. As night settles, you might imagine the coast holding its soft records under moonlight. Dunes standing like calm shoulders, water smoothing the sand as if tucking it in, the gulls roosting in small, pale clusters, part of the landscape's seasonal rhythm, written in feathers instead of ink. Tonight, let your mind borrow the coast's style of remembering. You don't have to clutch every detail. You can let experiences become gentle patterns rather than sharp edges. You can keep what matters as shape, not as noise. Like tide lines in sand, your day can fade into something softer, still true, still real, but no longer demanding your attention. And in that softness, sleep can arrive the way the tide arrives, naturally, steadily, and without needing permission. Migration reveals a calm kind of intelligence, timing, flexibility, and the ability to choose ease over struggle. When people hear the word intelligence, they sometimes picture quick answers or complex plans. But in the wild, intelligence often looks quieter than that. It looks like adapting without panic. It looks like choosing the safest roost. It looks like waiting out the wind. During the Atlantic seagull migration season, this quiet intelligence shows itself in small decisions repeated every day, decisions that don't sound impressive, but keep a life steady. A gull doesn't need to understand weather in a scientific way to respond wisely to it. It only needs to feel the air and notice the results. A headwind makes flight costly. A storm chills feathers. A sheltered inlet offers calm. The gull's intelligence is not abstract, it's embodied. It lives in the way the bird turns into the wind, the way it picks its moments, the way it conserves energy without calling it self-care, even though, honestly, it kind of is. A gentle science note: animal intelligence can be understood as effective behavior in response to environmental challenges, learning, memory, flexibility, and decision-making that improve survival and efficiency. For migratory birds, the ability to integrate cues like day length, weather, and food availability is a form of adaptive success. Seagulls are particularly flexible. They don't depend on one single food. They don't insist on one single path. They are coastal generalists with a specialist sense of timing. If a beach is crowded and noisy, they move. If a harbor offers calm, they rest. If fish are scarce, they forage differently. The migration route isn't a rigid highway. It's a drifting ribbon of options. This flexibility can feel almost philosophical. The gull doesn't waste energy wishing the ocean would behave differently. It accepts the ocean. It accepts the tide. It accepts the wind's mood swings. And then it adjusts. There's a simplicity to this that can be deeply soothing to watch, because it suggests a way of living that doesn't require constant argument with reality. And yes, we can add one gentle wink. Gulls sometimes look like they're making very serious decisions about very small things, like whether to stand on the left side of a post or the right side of a post. It's the kind of life choice that feels dramatic when you're a bird and the wind is slightly annoying. But behind that small drama is real skill. Seagulls read patterns. They remember places. They watch other birds and learn. They coordinate without strict rules. They take what is offered and let go of what isn't. Migration becomes a long practice in choosing what works. Tonight, let that be a soft permission for you. You don't have to solve everything. You don't have to force your mind into perfect calm. You can adapt gently. If one position doesn't feel comfortable, shift. If one thought feels too sharp, let it pass. If sleep doesn't come immediately, rest anyway. Waiting can be wise. Stillness can be productive. The seagull's quiet intelligence is not loud. It doesn't shout, "Look how capable I am." It simply continues, steady, flexible, and calm enough to be carried by the wind. And if you follow that mood now, you may find your own quiet intelligence doing the same, choosing softness, choosing ease, and drifting gently into sleep. Migration is a cycle, not an escape. Seasonal drift that teaches the calm beauty of repetition and return. There is a softness in how nature repeats itself, not in a boring way, in a comforting way. Along the Atlantic, the tide returns, the moon returns, the seasons return, and each year, seagulls return to the old truth of migration, move when the coast grows cold, drift when the wind turns kind, rest when the night arrives early, and follow the shoreline's gentle curve like a familiar lullaby. Migration can sound like a leaving, but it is also a returning to a pattern older than memory, returning to a rhythm that holds the bird without holding it down. The seagull does not migrate because it is restless. It migrates because it is responsive. Winter approaches, food shifts, and the body answers with movement. Then, when the world warms again, the pattern turns back. A gentle science note. Many migratory behaviors are seasonal cycles shaped by survival advantages, moving to regions with better food availability and more favorable climate conditions at different times of year. These cycles are reinforced over generations by successful outcomes. Birds that time movements well are more likely to survive and reproduce. There's something quietly poetic about a bird trusting repetition. In human life, repetition can sometimes feel like being stuck. But in nature, repetition is often stability. The tide's return means predictability. Seasonal return means continuity. The gull's migration is not a dramatic reinvention. It's an ongoing relationship with the world's timing. If you imagine the coastline as a long, slow song, migration is the chorus. It comes back, familiar, comforting, slightly different each time but always recognizable. Storms might add new verses, New harbors might appear, old roosts might shift, but the melody remains. Coastal drift, gentle stops, shared rest, quiet departure, and yes, one small feather of humor. If seagulls were asked how they feel about repeating the same seasonal route, they might say, "We call it tradition." Also, the food is better this way. They are not overcomplicating it. They are simply loyal to what works. At night, repetition becomes even more soothing. Waves repeat their hush. Wind repeats its whisper through grass. The gull repeats the small ritual of tucking its head into feathers and becoming a quiet, resting shape. There's no need to invent something new at midnight. Midnight is for returning to what is simple: warmth, stillness, breath. So tonight, if your mind is looping, replaying the day, repeating worries, consider that repetition isn't always a trap. It can also be a path. You can let your breath repeat until it becomes calm. You can let the sound of the ocean repeat until it becomes background. You can let the pattern of sleep return to you the way migration returns to the coast. Not forced, not rushed, just arriving because it is time. And in that returning pattern, wave after wave, breath after breath, you may find yourself drifting into the gentlest kind of continuity, the steady, familiar shore of sleep. Coastal ecosystems run on quiet partnerships, tides feeding marshes, marshes feeding fish, fish feeding birds, balance that feels like calm teamwork. If you stand at the edge of an Atlantic marsh, you can watch cooperation happening everywhere without anyone calling it cooperation. The tide slides in and floods the grass roots. The grass holds sediment and shapes the shoreline. Small fish hide in the flooded stems, safe from larger predators. Birds arrive to feed where the water makes food accessible. Nothing signs a contract, nothing makes speeches. The entire system simply participates. A gentle science note: ecosystems are networks of energy flow and feedback. Nutrients cycle. Producers like plants capture energy. Consumers move that energy through food webs. Habitats provide shelter and structure. Stability often comes from diversity and from the constant adjustment of relationships, not from any single species winning. Seagulls sit in this network like flexible coastal connectors. They eat fish, shellfish, and shoreline life. They also scatter nutrients through droppings, which can influence plant growth in some roost areas. They move between marine and terrestrial edges, carrying energy across habitats. Their migration spreads these interactions along the coast, like a quiet thread sewing distant places together. What's striking is how gentle this can feel when you view it without drama. The marsh is not fighting the tide, it receives it. The tide is not attacking the shoreline, it shapes it. The gull is not conquering the coast, it participates in it. Even predation, often portrayed as harsh, is, at scale, part of balance. Life feeds life, and the system continues. And still, nature allows for a tiny moment of affectionate humor. Seagulls may be part of ecological balance, yes, but they also have a talent for looking like they're freelancing. They'll show up, take a snack, preen for a while, and then glide off as if they're on a very relaxed business trip. Their contribution to the ecosystem may be real, but their attitude sometimes says, "I'm just here for the vibes." At night, cooperation looks like stillness. Water levels settle, plants hold the shore, fish tuck into channels, birds roost. The whole system lowers its volume. Not because it stops working, but because it shifts into a quieter mode, like a town after dark, when essential things continue quietly behind closed doors. Tonight, you can lean into that idea. The world doesn't need you to manage everything right now. The coast knows how to hold itself. The tide knows when to return. The gulls know when to rest. You are allowed to step out of the role of controller and into the role of participant. Breathing participates. Sleeping participates. Letting go participates. In the quiet cooperation of the coastal ecosystem, there is a gentle lesson. Harmony doesn't have to be loud. Balance doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it looks like water moving through grass, like birds settling on sandbars, like you sinking into bed with a soft exhale, part of the same calm network, held by rhythms that have been steady long before tonight. Nature's success often comes from patience, slow tides, slow dunes, slow seasonal drift, reminding us that gentle pace can be powerful. If you watch the ocean long enough, you begin to notice its greatest skill. It never hurries. Even when waves are strong, even when storms arrive, the sea does not rush toward the future. It simply continues, one movement after another, steady enough to shape stone over time. Migration season sits inside this larger serenity, because even a traveling bird is still moving at nature's pace, not ours. Seagulls are not fast in the way we imagine speed. They can fly quickly, yes, but their migration is not a race. It's a seasonal drift. It's the willingness to travel in segments, to stop often, to wait for good wind, to rest without apology. Their slowness is strategic. Their calm is functional. A gentle science note: in energy-limited activities like migration, efficiency often matters more than speed. Birds that conserve energy by gliding, choosing favorable winds, and using safe stopovers can improve survival. Slowness, when paired with good timing, can be an advantage. The coast itself models this serenity. Dunes form slowly, stabilized by roots that don't push, they hold. Marsh grasses grow in patient clusters, building habitat stem by stem. Tides reshape beaches with repetition, not force. Even the cliffs worn by wind and water are proof that the slow approach works. And yes, if we allow one tiny lullaby humor line, moss has nothing to do with seagulls, but it deserves a mention here anyway. Moss never hurries, and moss is wildly successful. The coast is full of slow winners. In migration season, the gull's slowness shows up in small choices. It chooses a quiet roost rather than pushing into bad weather. It takes time to preen rather than treating grooming as optional. It feeds steadily rather than frantically. It travels when conditions help and rests when they don't. The journey is guided by kindness in the environment, kind winds, kind tides, kind resting places. If you've been living at a human pace, fast, bright, demanding, this can feel like another world. A world where time isn't chased, a world where later is allowed, a world where rest is part of progress. Tonight, let that world touch you. Let slowness be safe. You don't need to fall asleep quickly to fall asleep well. You can drift. You can soften. You can take the longshore drift into rest. Like the tide, you can move forward by coming back to breath, back to stillness, back to the simple sensation of being held by bed and blanket. The seagulls will continue their migration at an unhurried pace, guided by rhythms older than any calendar. And you, too, can trust an older rhythm, the body's natural pull towards sleep. It doesn't rush. It simply continues, one soft exhale after another, until you're already there. Nature releases what it doesn't need: old shells, old water, old air, teaching a gentle way to loosen thoughts and settle into rest. Along the Atlantic, letting go is not a dramatic event. It is a daily practice. The tide releases water from the shore, then returns it again. Wind releases leaves from branches, then carries them elsewhere. Birds release feathers one at a time, and the coast holds them briefly, then lets them drift. Nothing clings for long. Nothing hoards. Nature seems to understand that holding too tightly makes movement harder. Migration season is a story of letting go. A seagull leaves one familiar pier behind. It leaves one feeding spot when the tide rises. It leaves one cold coastline as the season turns. The bird doesn't mourn each departure with a grand ritual. It simply moves on, trusting that what it needs will appear again in a new form. Another sandbar, another harbor, another stretch of shore. A gentle science note. Seasonal change is a shifting set of conditions: temperature, daylight, food availability, weather patterns. Migration is an adaptive response to these shifts. It is not an escape so much as a recalibration, a release of one set of conditions in favor of another that better supports survival. And the coast makes this release feel normal. You can watch the water slide back, leaving behind a shining wet surface, smooth as a freshly made bed. Small bubbles pop and vanish. Sea foam dissolves. Footprints fade. The beach doesn't argue with the tide. It accepts the change. There's also a quiet little humor in how confidently the tide takes things away. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't send an email. It just arrives and gently rearranges everything. If you ever wished you could clear your mind with that same efficiency, imagine your thoughts being swept out like seaweed, leaving the shore of your mind clean and quiet. The tide would be very good at that job. It's been practicing. For the seagulls, letting go can be seen in how they don't fight the wind. When the air is harsh, they land. When the ocean is generous, they feed. When the season turns, they travel. Their effort is not wasted on resisting what cannot be controlled. They invest energy where it matters, staying warm, staying fed, staying safe. Tonight, you can borrow that pattern. Let go in small pieces. You don't have to release everything at once. You can let go of one thought, then another. Like waves pulling gently at the shore, your breathing can loosen the grip of the day. If a worry returns, let it return like a wave, then let it drift out again. No need to solve it at midnight. Midnight isn't for solutions. Midnight is for softening, for allowing your mind to become smoother, less patterned by footfalls, more open to stillness. Let the tide be your teacher. In, out, Each exhale a release, each inhale a gentle return, and somewhere between, the quiet space where sleep begins, when you've let go enough to be carried. Nature treats rest as essential, not optional. Seagulls roost, recover, and protect energy, reminding us that sleep is not a pause from life, but part of it. In human life, rest is sometimes treated like an interruption, something you do when you're done with what matters. But along the Atlantic during migration season, rest is clearly part of what matters. The seagulls make it obvious. They do not migrate by pushing non-stop. They migrate by alternating flight, feeding, stillness. The stillness is not a break from the journey. It is the journey's support. A seagull roosting on a sandbar at night looks like a small bundle of calm, head tucked, feathers fluffed, body balanced in a way that keeps heat in and wind out. Nearby, other gulls settle too, creating a quiet community of resting shapes. The ocean continues to move, the wind continues to wander, but the gulls choose to become still inside that movement. They let the world go on without them for a while. A gentle science note. Rest and sleep support critical biological processes, energy conservation, immune function, memory consolidation, muscle repair. For migratory animals, recovery is essential because travel increases metabolic demands and exposure to weather stress. Rest helps keep the body capable. Seagulls also rest with strategy. They pick places that reduce disturbance. They gather in groups to share vigilance. They time rest around feeding opportunities shaped by tide. Their rest is intelligent, not lazy, and it's often beautifully unhurried. A gull may stand for minutes with eyes half closed, letting micro moments of dozing accumulate like small savings. It may sleep more deeply when safe. It may wake briefly and then settle again. And yes, sometimes a gull will choose a ridiculous sleeping position, like balancing on a narrow rail, and somehow make it look like luxury. It's a quiet reminder that comfort is partly skill, partly attitude, and partly not overthinking it. Migration season can teach us that rest is not a reward for productivity. It is fuel for life. You are not required to earn sleep by exhausting yourself completely. You are allowed to rest because you are a living body, and living bodies need rest the way coasts need tides. Tonight, let that permission sink in. You can stop performing wakefulness. You can stop monitoring your thoughts as if they're tasks. You can let your mind do what the seagulls do. Settle into stillness, because stillness is useful. The journey continues even while the gull sleeps. The season continues. The coast continues. And you too can let your world continue without your constant attention. Sleep is not disappearing. It is returning to the most natural rhythm you have, breathing, beating, resting. So let your body roost. Let your mind tuck in. Let the night be your sandbar, safe, quiet, surrounded by the soft motion of the world. Rest isn't the end of the story. It's how the story stays gentle enough to go on. Seagulls move toward home-like conditions, safety, food, and mild weather, suggesting that belonging can be seasonal and soft. When we say home, we often picture a fixed place, one address, one set of walls, one familiar view. But in the wild, home can be more fluid. For seagulls in migration season, home isn't always a single location. It's a set of conditions: enough food, enough safety, enough calm to rest and continue. The gull moves toward where life feels sustainable, where the air is kinder, where the coast still offers what the body needs. Along the Atlantic, that might mean drifting south as winter approaches. It might mean moving from exposed beaches to sheltered bays. It might mean trading one harbor for another, where disturbance is lower and roosting is easier. The gull doesn't seem sentimental about it, but there's a quiet wisdom in that practicality. Belonging can be seasonal. Comfort can shift. And it's okay to follow it. A gentle science note: many migratory species track suitable habitat conditions across seasons. This can include temperature ranges, food availability, reduced ice or storm risk, and access to reliable roosting sites. Migration allows animals to remain within favorable environmental windows. You can see this condition-based home in how gulls settle when they find a good place. Their bodies relax, their movements slow, they preen, they doze. They stand with that calm, slightly serious expression, like they're thinking, yes, this will do, and then they stop searching. There's also a tiny affectionate humor in how quickly gulls can declare a place acceptable. A gull can arrive at a new pier, look around once, then perch like it owns a timeshare. Migration may be long, but confidence travels light. In the bigger view, the gull's home is the coast itself, the repeating edge where land meets sea. Even as specific beaches change, the general world remains familiar. Waves, wind, tides, salt air. The gull belongs to that pattern, and the pattern belongs to the gull. Tonight, this can be a gentle comfort. You don't have to have everything perfectly arranged to feel home inside yourself. Home can be a set of conditions too. Warmth, softness, safety, quiet. If those conditions exist, even partially, you can settle. Even if tomorrow is uncertain, even if life is in transition, even if your mind has been busy. Sleep is a kind of home that returns every night. Not always instantly, not always easily, but reliably across time. It is your body's way of moving toward conditions that restore you, and you are allowed to follow that pull. So let your bed become your sheltering bay. Let your breathing become your shoreline. Let the night air become your gentle climate. Like a migrating seagull finding a calm roost after a long drift, you can settle into the feeling of enough safety, enough softness, enough stillness to belong here, now, in rest. We quietly revisit part 2's question, what does a seagull follow? And let it soften into something felt rather than answered. As the night deepens, questions don't always need answers. Sometimes they only need space to breathe, space to become simpler, space to settle into the background like the ocean's hush. So we return gently to the question we carried from earlier. The one that's been walking beside us like a quiet companion along the shore. When a seagull leaves one familiar coast for another, what is it really following? You might notice how different the question feels now. After traveling through tides, roosts, wind, and quiet routines, it no longer seems like a puzzle. It feels more like a rhythm. The gull follows what is steady, what repeats, what supports life without demanding effort. It follows the coastline's shape, yes, but also the way the world changes in small, honest increments. In the dark, the Atlantic shore is less defined. The boundary between sea and land becomes softer. And in that softness, the gull's following becomes less about seeing and more about sensing. A change in air temperature, a direction of wind, the rise and fall of tides. The familiar pull of a route that has worked before, a gentle science note, kept simple here. Migration is guided by multiple cues, and those cues are often subtle. Light changes a little each day. Food shifts in patterns. Weather moves in cycles. The gull doesn't need certainty. It needs enough signal to choose the next safe step, the next sandbar, the next sheltered bay. And perhaps that's the quiet answer hidden inside the question. The gull follows conditions. It follows the world's way of saying, this is still enough, or now it's time to drift. It follows the easiest air, the kinder coast, the places where rest is possible. Now, let your own mind follow something similar. You don't have to chase answers tonight. You can follow conditions too. Warmth, stillness, the gentle weight of the blanket, the calm certainty of breath moving in and out. If thoughts try to pull you into planning, you can notice them and then return to what supports rest. The shoreline outside the story continues to shift quietly. Water smooths the sand, wind lowers its voice. The gulls, wherever they are along the coast, are becoming small sleeping shapes again, tucked into feathers, balanced in the dark, carried by the safety of a familiar rhythm. So let the question rest now. Not solved, just softened, like a shell placed back in the sand, like a thought released back into the tide. And as we drift onward, we'll let the answer be what nature often offers best. Not a statement, but a feeling, a sense of direction that doesn't require effort, a calm pull toward sleep. We guide the listener into settling language, drifting, loosening, quieting, mirroring how gulls choose calm roosts as night steadies. Imagine the coastline becoming quieter by degrees, not a sudden silence, but a gradual lowering of volume. The ocean still moves, but its edges soften. The wind still wanders, but it slows its pace. The world begins to feel like a room after the lights dim, everything still present, just gentler. Along the migration route, seagulls do something similar. They don't fight the night. They cooperate with it. They choose sheltered places where the air is calmer and the water is less restless. A bay where waves arrive softly. A sandbar where the tide makes a protective ring. A harbor corner where the world's sharpness is buffered by land. The gull arrives without ceremony. It lands. It stands for a moment, letting balance settle into muscle and bone. Then it begins to loosen. Feathers fluffing, body lowering, head turning into a tucked position. Each movement is small, deliberate, quiet. A shift from travel to rest. You can do the same now in your own way. Let your shoulders loosen slightly. Let your tongue rest in your mouth. Let your brow soften. Let your breath become less interested in doing anything special. The tide doesn't perform, it repeats. Your breathing can repeat too, steady, ordinary, enough. A gentle science note, kept light. Animals reduce energy use by finding shelter and by lowering activity. Stillness is protective. Rest is not only recovery, it's strategy. The gull understands this without thinking about it. As you listen, imagine the sheltered bay forming around you. The bed becomes the sandbar. The blanket becomes the soft boundary of tide. The room becomes the windbreak. You don't have to travel anymore tonight. You can let movement end here, safely. The question from earlier is still present, but it doesn't press. It simply floats somewhere nearby like a distant buoy light. What does the gull follow? Perhaps it follows the feeling of safe enough to rest. Perhaps that is the simplest direction of all. Now let the story's imagery become slower. The moonlight on water is smooth. The shoreline is a dark curve. A few distant calls fade quickly into the night. The gulls settle into their quiet shapes, each one an island of calm. And your thoughts, if they arrive, can settle too. They don't have to be chased away. They can land softly, then tuck in, then go still. Like birds on a sandbar, thoughts can be present without being active. So drift, settle, loosen, quiet. Let these words be like gentle waves. Let them arrive and fade. And if you feel yourself slipping towards sleep, you don't have to hold on to the story. You can let it continue without you. The coast will keep breathing. The gulls will keep resting. And you too can become part of that sheltered stillness. We bring imagery into a softer close, water smoothing, wind easing, drawing simple conclusions without moralizing. somewhere far along the Atlantic, the last edges of daylight are gone. What remains is a gentle night palette, deep blue sky, dark water, faint silver where moonlight touches a wave. The coastline looks simpler in the dark, as if it has put away its details for the evening. In migration season, this is when the gulls fully surrender to rest, not as defeat, but as completion. The day's movement has been enough. The day's feeding has been enough. The day's watching has been enough. Now the body turns toward stillness the way the tide turns toward shore, because it's time. If we draw a simple conclusion from nature here, it is this: the world is built to alternate, moving and resting, searching and settling, traveling and roosting. No creature stays in one mode forever. Even the ocean, endlessly in motion, has its gentler moments when the water smooths and the wind goes quiet. A gentle science note, very soft. The night encourages lowered activity, cooling air, and calmer rhythms in many animals. Rest becomes easier when the environment supports it. The gull doesn't force itself awake. It uses the night as it is meant to be used. Now let the water in your mind smooth out. You don't have to flatten every ripple. You can simply let the surface become less busy. Let the wind of thought ease. Let the sense of needing to do soften into allowed to be. If the question returns again, what does the gull follow? You might feel how the answer is no longer a sentence. It's an atmosphere. The gull follows the coast's gentle logic. When the air is kind, glide. When the night is deep, rest. It follows the simplest rhythm available, and you can follow that too. Your breath is kind, the bed is steady, the room is quiet enough. That is the only logic sleep needs. Picture a sandbar now, pale under moonlight. The gulls are tucked in, bodies rounded, heads hidden in feathers. The ocean moves around them, but it doesn't disturb them. The tide is careful. The wind passes above them like a soft hand. Everything continues, and yet everything feels settled. Let the same settling happen in you, not forced, not urgent, just natural. Like last light fading from water, your wakefulness can fade too, gently, gradually, without needing a reason. And if sleep arrives, let it arrive the way the tide arrives, quietly, inevitably, and with a softness that asks nothing of you. We complete the descent, bringing attention back to breath and stillness, revisiting the big question one last time in the gentlest way. The migration route for tonight can quiet itself, not because it ends forever, but because the night has claimed its portion of the story. Seagulls do this naturally. They don't carry the entire coastline in their minds while they sleep. They don't keep flying in dreams. They tuck in, and the route waits for morning. So now we return to what is closest, what is simplest, what is always here. Breathing. In and out. In and out. Let it be that plain. The coast breathes with the tide, and you can breathe with the coast. No counting required, no perfect rhythm required, just the gentle certainty that inhale happens and then exhale follows, like a wave following another wave. The question we began with can visit once more, softly, as if it's already half asleep. What does the seagull follow? Maybe the seagull follows the coastline's curve. Maybe it follows shifting food. Maybe it follows the wind's kindness. Maybe it follows a memory written in instinct. But tonight, after everything we've witnessed, after the roosts, the waiting, the drifting, we can let the answer be quiet. It follows what helps it rest and continue. And you can follow what helps you rest and continue too. Warmth, stillness, the gentle pressure of blanket, the safe darkness of the room. The calm repetition of breath. Imagine now that the entire coast has become a lullaby. The ocean is the low note. The wind is the soft harmony. Distant calls are brief, like single notes that fade. The gulls are quiet, and the silence around them feels full rather than empty. Your thoughts can become like those distant calls, arriving, fading, leaving no trace you must hold. If a thought appears, you can let it drift by. If another appears, let it drift too. The goal is not to stop thinking by force. The goal is to stop gripping. In the wild, the night doesn't demand attention. It invites surrender. It invites letting the body do what it already knows how to do. Settle. Slow. Soften. So settle now. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders sink. Let your hands become heavy. Let your feet feel far away and safe. Let your breath become the only route you need to follow. And if you're already slipping, if sleep is pulling you under like a gentle tide, there's nothing you need to do. You can let go of the story. The seagulls will keep migrating. The Atlantic will keep moving. The coast will keep remembering in soft ways. All you have to do is rest, here, now, in the quiet rhythm of the earth. We enter final rest mode, reduced facts, mostly imagery, returning to motifs of water, wind, and roosting birds. The night has fully settled into its quiet shape. The coastline is a dark, gentle curve, and the ocean is a steady hush, like breathing you can hear from far away. Moonlight drifts across the water in broken silver, and the tide moves with unhurried confidence, smoothing the shore the way sleep smooths the edges of a busy day. Somewhere along a sheltered bay, seagulls are resting. They are no longer travelers in motion, but travelers in stillness. Small, pale bodies tucked into themselves, balanced and warm. Feathers hold pockets of air. Heads disappear into soft plumage. The flock becomes a calm line of quiet shapes against the dark sea. The wind is quieter now too. It passes gently, not pushing, not demanding. It moves through beach grass with a faint whisper, then moves on. It doesn't stay to argue. It doesn't stay to explain. It simply travels, like a slow thought that never becomes a worry. The water comes in, then eases back, in and out, in and out. Let your breathing match that, if it wants to. Not tightly, not perfectly, just softly. Your body already knows the rhythm. It has been practicing since the beginning. The shore holds the night without effort. The dunes stand like calm shoulders. The sand cools. The air becomes smooth. Sound fades into a gentle background where nothing sharp remains. If you're awake, you can rest here. If you're drifting, you can drift freely. The story doesn't need you to listen. It will continue like the ocean continues, steady, low, and kind. A distant wave folds onto the beach and dissolves. Another follows. The gulls do not move. They are safe in their roost, wrapped in stillness, surrounded by the slow boundary of tide. And you too are surrounded. By bed, by darkness, by quiet air, by the simple fact that you have nowhere to go right now. Nothing to solve, nothing to hold up, nothing to keep watch over. Just the soft motion of the world and the softer motion of you, settling, quieting, loosening, drifting. When you're ready, whether you notice the moment or not, sleep will arrive like a tide that knows exactly where it belongs. We repeat earlier motifs softly, ocean hush, feathered stillness, using slow language to deepen relaxation. The coast has a way of repeating itself without ever feeling demanding. A wave arrives, a wave leaves, wind passes through grass and moves on. The night holds everything in a steady, lowered light, and somewhere within this repetition, the seagulls rest, quiet as shells, quiet as driftwood, quiet as the soft space between two breaths. The ocean's hush is constant, but not loud. It's a sound that doesn't ask for attention. It simply fills the edges of the world, so nothing feels empty. If you listen closely, you might notice that the waves don't crash so much as fold, like fabric being smoothed. The water glides up the sand, pauses for a moment, then slides back, leaving the beach polished and dark. In and out, in and out. The tide keeps its gentle clock, but now it feels less like time and more like comfort. The shoreline is a place where motion and rest live together. Even moving water can be soothing when it moves slowly enough. The gulls, tucked into their feathers, are part of that soothing motion too. Their bodies rise and fall almost imperceptibly with breathing. Their warmth stays close. Their wings are folded, no longer working, no longer lifting them through air. The migration, for this moment, is paused in the safest way, like a book placed face down on a pillow, ready to be opened again later. If you imagine a wingbeat now, it can be soft and distant, a memory of movement rather than movement itself, a slow flap, a glide, the quiet whoosh of air passing over feathers, and then stillness again. Everything repeats in the wild, and repetition is one of nature's kindest tools. It tells the body, you are safe. It tells the mind, you do not have to chase novelty right now. It tells the nervous system, you can settle. The wind drifts over the dunes, brushing the tops of grass blades. It doesn't tug, it doesn't shake. It's gentle, like a hand smoothing a blanket. And the blanket, your blanket, can feel a little heavier now, in a good way, as if gravity is helping you rest. If thoughts appear, let them be like waves. A thought arrives. It touches the shore of your awareness. Then it recedes. You don't have to hold it. You don't have to follow it down the beach. You can let it return to the ocean. Another wave arrives. Another breath arrives. And the world remains steady. Somewhere far out, the Atlantic keeps moving through darkness, but here, close to shore, everything feels quieter, calmer, closer to sleep. The gulls stay tucked in. The tide continues its soft work, and your mind can become like the sand after a wave has passed, smooth, cool, and ready to be still. Minimal facts, more reassurance and sensory quiet, guiding the listener into deeper stillness. Night is not emptiness. It is a safe dark, full of steady things that continue without effort. Along the Atlantic, even when you can't see much, the coast is still there. The dunes still rise softly, the tide still moves, the air still flows, and the gulls, resting near the water, are held by the same reliable world. In the dark, details fade. That is part of the kindness. You don't have to look closely at anything tonight. You don't have to analyze. You don't have to decide. You can let the edges blur, the way fog blurs a distant pier, the way moonlight blurs the line between sea and sky. Your body is allowed to do what bodies do at night: grow heavier, grow warmer, grow quieter. Breath in, breath out. Let the exhale be a little longer if it wants to be. Let it feel like setting something down, like placing a pebble in sand and walking away, like the tide releasing a line of foam and letting it dissolve. If you imagine the gulls now, they are very still. Their feathers create small domes of warmth, Their heads are tucked, beaks hidden, eyes closed or half closed. They are not worrying about the next flight. They are not scanning the whole ocean. They are simply resting in the conditions they chose, sheltered, steady, quiet. You can choose the same conditions inside your room: stillness, warmth, dimness, safety. The bed supports you without question. The night air surrounds you without asking anything in return. And even if your mind tries to flicker, like a distant harbor light, you can let it flicker. A small light is not a problem. The ocean doesn't fear a lighthouse. It simply continues, calm and dark and steady. So soften your face. Let your shoulders sink. Let your hands become quiet. Let your feet feel far away and safe. Nothing is required of you now. The coast continues its slow work outside this story. The gulls continue their soft sleeping. The tide continues to breathe, and you can let yourself sink into the safe dark, deeper and deeper, until thoughts feel distant, until the body feels settled, until sleep arrives not as something you do, but as something that happens, naturally, the way night happens. We dissolve into near sleep cadence, slow repetition, imagery, and gentle drifting language. Now the story becomes more like a lullaby than a narrative. The Atlantic shore is a quiet song, and it doesn't need many words. Just a few soft images, repeating in the dark. Moonlight on water, a wave folding onto sand, wind whispering through grass, seagulls tucked into feathers. The migration is a distant idea now, like a road you know exists, but don't need to think about while you're safe at home. The coast is holding the night in its wide, patient hands, in and out, in and out. You might imagine the gulls as small boats at anchor, steady in a sheltered bay. They don't drift far. They don't fight the current. They simply float in stillness, held by the quiet boundary of tide. A few distant sounds might come and go, water shifting, a faint call far away, the soft creak of something in the wind. Each sound can be a gentle confirmation that the world is steady, that life continues quietly, that you don't have to supervise it. Your thoughts can become quieter too, less like words, more like texture. A soft fog, a dim shoreline, a slow, dark blue sea. If a memory appears, let it be like driftwood, floating by without needing to be picked up. If a plan appears, let it be like a seabird's shadow, passing over water, then disappearing. You can let everything pass. The tide does, the wind does, the night does. Your breathing is enough to follow. Your bed is enough to hold you. The darkness is enough to soften everything. And the gulls, quiet, resting gulls, are still there, somewhere along the Atlantic edge, as if they are modeling the simplest skill of all, how to be still without fear. So drift now, loosen now, settle now. Let the coastline in your mind become smooth like sand after a wave. Let your awareness become wide and soft like the ocean at night. Let sleep come closer, 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 until it's no longer something you're waiting for, but something you're already inside. Closing lines in complete dissolve into calm, minimal imagery, then the fixed ending. The Atlantic night holds steady. Waves move softly. Wind passes gently. Seagulls rest, tucked into warmth. The coast breathes, and you breathe with it. Nothing else is needed. Nothing else is asked. Everything flows through the wild. Sleep in that motion.